And hello, everyone, and welcome back to. I just realized that only applies to half the people listening right now. Hey, welcome to the Talk to the Internet podcast. We were just reacting to Nintendo's Direct, which was just filled with slobber knockers. Just Nintendo's throwing those big hits left and right. Wah, wah.
We got Metroid.
Slobber knockers.
We got the Breath of the Wild 2. We even got a Mario game. We got, I think there was a Halo game in there too, right?
It was everything. It was everything. They finally made the perfect video game, and it's coming this fall. And I can't wait to play it. We did it, actually. There's this tendency of creators to feel like the active expression, like you're cultivating talents, you're cultivating skills, you're getting better at expressing yourself, you're getting better at creating a curated and finely crafted artistic product. Mm-hmm. Everything. I don't want to say every artistic work in the human race for the last, 4,000 years is leading to this moment, but certainly all of video games from, 1960, whatever. It's all been a communal project to get to Mario Golf. And thank God. Snark aside, I actually love Mario Golf, so I'm really excited.
The idea of Mario Golf, like the speed mode they announced, where you just hit the ball and scramble to sprint to the next location is that's exciting to me because the best part about golf is the in between parts.
The physicality, yeah.
Criken, I want you to commit to this right now because Lawrence and I already did. We're going to be drunk Mario Golf.
Oh, hell
Will
yeah.
you do that? Okay, all right, good. All right.
I have a tradition in my community where we, like once a blue moon, every other month or something like that, we have a golf night, essentially. And golf night to us is get shit-faced drunk and play mini golf games on
I watched it. It's awesome.
Steam. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we already have a tradition of this where I come from. But I'm happy to, to make a Mario variant where the speed golf version of that is going to be so chaotic. I'm very excited.
I can't wait.
I want multiple layers, though. I want us to have to run somewhere in real life to play a round of speed golf. So, because I feel like the fun is not only getting deliriously drunk with your friends,
but also
through
your house.
Yeah, physically moving, vomiting, knocking things over, waking up the next morning with a variety of confusing bruises. That's the future that I see.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Also, Splatoon 3, everybody.
Yeah.
That's really exciting. Although they didn't show... they showed a little bit.
I don't know what makes it different aside from the lore opening. So, I don't know. I've never played a Splatoon game, so I can't say much about it. But
me either.
They showed some new weapons and abilities in the trailer, for sure. Mm-hmm. And, when it comes to a multiplayer shooter, that's kind of everything. The new aesthetic, it's sandy now. It seems like it's in, tech-wise, it just seems like it's a different period of time. Because Splatoon 1 and 2 feel like the city that you're in, Splatopolis or whatever, the thing with the giant fish and the light bulb on top. We all know what I'm talking about. That looked pretty clean. Like, it looked kind of like a goofy version of modern-day Tokyo, but the thing that they showed in the trailer for Splatoon 3 looked more like a rundown sort of 80s version of a city like that. So it might be either closer to an apocalyptic event, meaning it's a prequel, or closer to an apocalyptic event in the future, because all the splat fish bulbs are missing something.
What?
I don't know. Somebody's got to take this away from me. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Well, I was gonna say you're the only one who's played it.
You know more about the game than any of us. So
the game
I'm just gonna trust you at this point.
The game doesn't really tell you about its own lore. Let's see here. Timeline.
You're our expert.
All right. Prior to the Great Turf Wars, 12,000 years ago, the first bullet point in the rundown of the timeline on Splatoon.fandom.com. Here's the first thing you need to know. Around 12,000 years ago, Judd is born.
Who's Judd?
Let's click on it. All right, Judd. Oh, Judd's the cat. Judd's the cat that decides every match. He's got a little
Again, without any context and without any of us playing a single match of this Splatoon.
You guys know Judd. He's got the little tuxedo print. He holds up little flags. You guys know Judd. Judd. It's because it's short for Judge. Judge Kuhn is a cat in Splatoon and Splatoon 2. Unlike other characters, he seems to play a role in Splatoon's story that remains a mystery because he's 12,000 years old. In multiplayer, he plays the role of referee in Turf Wars. When he's done judging, he can be found sleeping on a trash bin in Inkopolis Plaza. Yes, of course, Inkopolis. How could we forget? So Judd is 12,000 years old. Yeah, I'm holding you guys accountable for forgetting this. Let's see. Human is buried with gaming devices 12,000 years ago. All right. Mollusk era 2,000 years ago. Global water levels recede, forcing many marine creatures onto what used to be Earth's dry land to evolve and become more intelligent. Some of those creatures also develop a humanoid structure. For example, squids evolved into inklings, while octopi evolved into octarians and octolings. The mollusk era begins. The inklings begin to use zapfish. Zapfish, that's what I thought. A prized power source. 2,000 years ago, Judd is released from his capsule and becomes the judge of the earliest known turf wars. All right, the Great Turf War and surrounding events, 100 years ago and after. Inkopolis and Calamari County are founded. Calamari County's customary chorus is composed to celebrate and respect the bounty of the sea.
Holy shit. Did you hear all that alliteration in that sentence he just read?
Yeah, it was a very V for Vendetta line
Wow.
right there. Yeah, the Splatoon.fandom.com doesn't fuck around, clearly. Around 100 years ago, Captain Cuttlefish and DJ Octavio are born. They later become the respective leaders of the Inklings and the Octarians. 100 years ago, sea levels rise again, forcing the Inklings and Octarians to fight over the remaining dry land. They should have just stayed in the ocean. Anyway, around that
so why do they fight
Why do
with
they
the
want to
ink?
be on the land?
global warming, I guess. That's just where they are now. Evolution.
We'll get to the fight with the ink. Why?
All right. Around that time.
How come?
Okay, Captain Cuttlefish forms the Squid Breaks platoon, 3 other members, possibly including somebody who appears to be Sheldon's grandfather, and Moses Schellendorf as its leader.
Moses Schellendorf.
No, Amos is Schellendorf.
Like Ammonite, get it? 90,
Moses. Okay.
99 years ago, Moses Schellendorf creates 5 or 8 blueprints for weapons. One or the other,
Right.
including one for the Hero Shot replica. 99 years ago, the Octarians were victorious through the course of the Great War, aided by their great octa weapons. However, a plug being pulled off deactivated their weaponry, allowing their Inkling enemies to prevail and defeat them. The Octarians were later forced into hiding into Octo Valley, where they built and lived in underground domes. So the Octarians have been living underwater. After 99 years ago, the turf wars became a popular competitive sport instead of serious conflict, as they used to be
We're not
2,000
even-
years ago.
We're not even in the video game yet.
Yeah.
Not even there.
That's a lot of lore. How is this like explained in the game?
There are like scrolls you find that kind of tell the backstory through really pantomime-y, very low narrative kind of things. It's almost like ancient comic books or
Yeah.
like Sumie scrolls kind of.
All right, here it is. Splatoon, present day.
DJ Octavio begins his career as a disc jockey. That's
Okay.
important.
That's the first thing in the whole
DJ Octavio is
these
pretty
wars. Okay.
important. The Octarians' underground domes show signs of collapsing and begin to lose power.
Oh no.
Pearl and Marina, the hosts of Off the Hook, are born. That's good.
They're born. Okay. We just gotta fast forward till they play a role in the plot. But waiting.
Mary and Callie, the Squid sisters, are born in Calamari County. Agent 3, 4, and 8 are born. Inkopolis
How fast do they mature into characters? How long we got for everyone to get
18
born
years,
first?
Lawrence.
Yeah, that seems-
Criken, 18 years.
seems really fast. Maybe Octarians age really quickly, or squids do. These
In
rules
real
have yet
life,
to
do
be
you have
set.
any pescatarians? No, that's not right. Ocean doctors. What is that?
Marine biologist?
That's the one. Any marine biologists in chat, can they confirm or deny that squids and octopuses age faster than anyone?
You know what? I can confirm that apparently squids and octopi are incredibly intelligent and remember us. Like if you went and swam and saw an octopus, and then you went and did it like 10 years later, it would remember
10
what you
years
look
later?
like. I'm serious. And also apparently they like can feel pain and they're super smart.
Well, thank God they can feel pain. That makes me feel much better about all us humans and what we've done.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is just to be careful. Is don't be mean to an octopus because it'll remember you and it'll be
and then
pain.
they'll get revenge one day. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. Long story
Sorry to
short.
interrupt. How many
No.
more were born in the year?
Oh, I blurred over it. It's starting to it's basically merging the present day into all one brick. So I don't know why characters being born is like an important. You can just assume that happened at some point if they're alive, but
Well, but we don't know specifically when their birthdays are.
this
right? And
this
then-
wiki doesn't either.
Oh.
Yeah, it just says question mark.
Oh no.
So Inkopolis hosts its first annual youth folk singing contest. Mary and Callie win the contest, and their career in fame as singers begin.
Wait, how many years after them being born was that?
We don't
Can
know.
you work backwards?
We're not
You
sure.
don't know? Then how do we know when they were born?
These are questions to be answered by Splatoon 3. I can only assume.
This was written by one writer's assistant like 5 years ago. So just it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. By the way, I saw very many polite people in both of our chats say, "All right, guys, I have to go," and then they left while we were reading Splatoon lore.
Who you guys like better, Judd or Krusty Sean?
Oh, Krusty Sean.
Without seeing Judd, I like Krusty Sean.
Yeah, Krusty Sean's great. He might have the best name in the game. It took. Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say he's clearly very cool.
He's a rad guy, and he's also dead, like because he's already been fried. Maybe he's just wearing that as like a jacket or something, which seems.
For audio listeners,
very dark.
We're looking at a shrimp who's been fried.
Oh
Yeah, wait.
yeah. Hold on, they say it. His fried body gives him the look of a tempura. It's actually just a slightly morbid designer jacket. That's even got a
Oh.
footnote.
Slightly morbid designer jacket. Well, thank you for clarifying. First of all, like that's really nice they wrote that in. But second, that's like us wearing like a charred human flesh as
That's right.
as a designer
That's
jacket.
correct. Yeah, that's right.
That's not slightly morbid. That's very morbid.
I'm sure people have done that though. I bet humans have done
Have
that.
they?
Like they've worn like something that looks like other human skin, even though it's not.
Yes, Silence of the Lambs. That he was a psychopath. That's Buffalo Bill you're describing.
You think Krusty Sean's a serial killer?
I mean, maybe. It's more like self-harm though, with his own skin that's been
Yeah,
fried.
you're right. You're right.
Yeah, Lady Gaga wore a meat dress. It's true.
That's
Krusty
right.
Sean he's a fashion pioneer. I'm trying to think of other cool pun names. The fat cat is really nice. Damn, I gotta look up other top characters from Splatoon now. I don't have
Well,
to.
yes. The thing is, from like someone 1,000 miles away, I always thought like the Splatoon characters were the coolest part about it, without knowing anything about the game or ever trying the game, which isn't really fair of me to reduce it to that. But I do think, even looking at the characters so far, I'm like, hell yeah, I vibe with that guy. Look at all the legs he's got. What a cool idea. But it has not moved me to actually want to try the game. And that's,
No, absolutely not. No, same over here.
That's interesting, Criken, because to hear you talk about your nostalgia for like Rare's output in the late 90s, I would think something like Splatoon lands exactly in that particular register.
I think it's just the gameplay, like not feeling like I have kind of an open world exploration or control of my character, and instead I'm like just arena fights one after another. Again, like the campaign mode may have changed that to some degree in the recent games, but I have not, I missed the boat, so to speak. So I never felt
Get
the
it
need
because
to
you're a
get
squid
caught
or
up.
whatever.
Thanks, Bruce. Yeah, I was kind of like letting them mull over that one, but I appreciate you hitting home.
No, I gotta make sure. I gotta make sure people get that joke.
Yeah, I get how clever I am.
The jokes are few and far between here when we're reading Splatoon lore.
Yeah, you gotta take any like kernel of entertainment and like show it in
Milk
everyone's
it.
face and like, look,
You gotta milk
we're
it, yeah.
still doing content.
Splatoon 3 is gonna be great. That's the important thing. And y'all should listen to the soundtrack for Splatoon 2. Not Bruce
Bruce is
Criken,
good
just
too.
the entire world. I'm
Wait,
looking through
I
some of these
can't listen
ancient
to it?
scrolls here.
Also, Xenoblade Chronicles characters in Smash.
Yeah.
Booba.
Pyrrha and Mithra.
Let's see how long it takes to get to Booba. Actually, quite a bit.
Look 'em-
Let's keep scrolling here.
Be careful, Lawrence. Whatever you do, be careful.
Oh, it's fine. It's a Nintendo game, Bruce. They're gonna have family values.
These are all just pictures from the game, right? Like I don't think they'd be populated with actual.
I don't know. You never know what you're gonna find on the internet, Criken. You know that.
Oh no, yeah, definitely porn. What I'm describing though is the characters' Smash pictures probably aren't up there yet.
Oh yes. Oh, they gotta be right. They've gotta be. Come on. They gotta be up there. There's gotta be already Rule 34 of Mira and Pyrrha and Mithra in Smash Brothers, but it's Rule 34 of it. There has to be. Don't look.
The farthest I got in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is pretty much the point where you meet Pyrrha. She's the red one. You meet Pyrrha for the first time, and because it's anime, your character gets like knocked out or whatever, and you wake up with your head on her lap. But it shows you this from the first person. So like on the TV, it like slowly opens up, and since you're on her lap looking up, all you see are two giant ass titties. And then like her kind of looking down, except her eyes are just like peeking out above her giant rack.
Wow.
And yeah, that's how they introduce that character.
That's the choice. Yeah.
Very matronly. That's what we'll say. It's meant to evoke feelings of motherhood.
Yeah.
Very, very mommy milkers of them.
Very mommy milkers of you, Nintendo.
Well, like that's what's weird is like Nintendo never really went for that. But then we saw Zelda bend over in Breath of the Wild, and there were some thick. Yeah, dude. It became a whole meme. There was that scene of like Zelda on all fours and Link's just standing behind her, staring at her ass.
Yeah.
And that kicked it off, man. And then they added like hot characters in Splatoon as well.
And then Zelda looks up and she's like, "Bro, stop!
Stop it, big bro!
You gotta go save the kingdom."
People got all horny for one of the hosts in Splatoon 2. Yeah, there she is, Marina. That's it.
Where's the hot?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she's pretty hot.
What's the other one's name?
But like she's got like a plunging waistline and stuff. So there's some Nintendo's character design has gotten slightly hornier over
They've gotten a little,
just scrolling past that one.
Risque.
Slightly hornier. Dude, that's what the
You're playing
the
a
art
very
director said.
dangerous game, by the way. On just Google Images, searching through it right now.
The art
This is,
director,
your
the art director
this
walked
is
in and
fire.
said, "Can we make Marina slightly hornier, please?
Yeah, dial up the horny just a little bit. Well, there we go.
Turn it up." Oh boy.
She must be eating a coconut or something.
Oh my god.
What? What's the problem, Criken? We're looking at it's a kid's game. She's got vagina bones.
That's just some milk. She got milk on her face.
I shouldn't have clicked on that. Nope, I did. She got vagina bones. They added vagina bones to a squid girl.
Isn't that called? That's called the Adonis belt. It's called the Adonis belt.
On a dude, yeah.
Why
That's
am
called
I
the Adonis
here?
belt on anybody. Why am I here?
I'm just having like existential crisis right now, like watching this.
Sorry,
because
Criken.
you have been in the video game entertainment sphere for what 15 years, Criken? That's why you're here. That's why
wow.
you're looking at horny pictures of Marina.
Thank you, Bruce. It's put my whole career into context, and I'm never been prouder.
Good. I just want to make sure you know. Sometimes you're not above this, Criken. Don't pretend you're above this.
Yeah, you're right. You know, I need to take my booba medicine and just kind of, enjoy the ride.
I don't know,
Well,
Craig.
anyways.
I repeatedly appreciate the decorum and grace that you handle yourself with.
No, be hornier.
You could be hornier, though.
Yeah.
I like the one thing that I love the most, I think, is that out of all of us, Criken has the biggest viewership, and we're trying to tell you how to adapt.
I'm just kidding around.
I know. I just like the dynamic here. Criken, let me sit you down on my knee and give you a few lessons about being on the internet.
Actually, this is, you bring up a good point, because I've recently been, some of the stuff that I've been hanging out and doing with in the after hours and streaming a little bit is VR chat, which is a notoriously horny place. And I don't really mind it for that stuff. Like I can just kind of, hang out with my buds. That's mainly what I use it for. But I've met a lot of great new people through these kind of shared lobbies. And they've been like dragging me into this cesspool of degeneracy, piece by piece. And the latest thing that we did was there's game nights every week. And if you lose at game night, then you get a punishment role play that you have to do on the next day, because they have nights with different themes, and one of them is like a role play night where everyone comes as a new character and basically does bar RP where you walk in and you're doing a new thing. This is Rafflegator's Golden Gator, for anyone that knows their work. But I recently been joining, and I joined for my first game night this last week, and our team lost, and I was assigned a character for the next punishment for the next RP night, and my buddy Lawman was there on the winning team, and when they were trying to decide what character they could give me that could be a punishment, they were like, Criken will just play anything. Like he doesn't like he loves role playing. It's really hard to make this an actual punishment. And Laman's like, oh, make it horny. He doesn't like doing horny stuff like on stream. And they're like, all right, great. Now you got to be a succubus. And you got to role play as a succubus and get people off for the entire night. And so I felt like a piece of me die. And I was like, okay, I got to do some research now. So, maybe you're right. Maybe I got to get in touch with that side of me. I gotta, slap on some big anime titties and roam around the VR chat lobbies and really just kind of embrace it rather than.
Have you done it yet? Have you streamed that yet?
No, it's going to be on Thursday. I'm not going to stream it. That's one rule.
You're not going to stream it?
No, but other people in the lobby will be. So I'm going to be, I'll just be, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. There's a model I have in mind that I'm going to roleplay as, but man, it is hard.
I have to watch that.
Or it ought to be.
Definitely. Yeah.
Why I feel like my latent fear exploring any territory like that is that I'll accidentally be really good at it.
Yeah, you'll discover something, unearth some hidden skill. Well, so actually, Lawrence, I don't know if you're familiar with a lot of the VR chat culture, but there's a whole thing I've been exposed to in the last couple, month or two that I've been kind of reacclimating to it, and that's the concept of mutes. I don't know if you're familiar with that term, not the disability, of course, but basically these are characters in VR chat that often are either like very done up anime girl avatars or something like that, that will never speak, but they have full body tracking, full leg tracking, everything, and are incredibly physically communicative and present, and it's very surreal to interact with them because they can manage to charade style get all these thoughts across, but will never actually talk to you. And so it's a thing that I've grown a lot more used to than I expected, but I don't think I could do that. I don't have that level of body awareness. I think that I could actually get my points across that way. Plus I like to talk too much when I'm role playing, so
I could definitely do that.
You think so?
100%.
I would love to see your
100%.
Your interpretation of it.
If I could, I would need one of those really super awesome rigs because I think I know what you're talking about, what they wear and stuff. But I could 100% be a mute in VR chat for sure.
Definitely. Not mimes. Yeah, they're not necessarily full on charades. Now I'm a tiger. Guess what I am? It's more they're just hanging out, but every piece of their body movement is tracked, and some of them are very outgoing and are going to be hanging on you and trying to make you feel that phantom sense presence of someone there, and others are super shy and just kind of purely smiling and waving and have a bunch of bound facial animations that they're cycling between to express emotion. It's nuts. It's a whole new way of communication that I'm I don't know, I've been learning slowly by watching, but yeah, I don't think it's really for me.
You know what kind of communication that is? It's real life communication.
Is that what it is?
That's how we communicate in real life, Criken. We have body language. We have it's all there, but that's actually when we're in real life with each other.
Wow.
Crazy.
Thanks, Bruce. I'm going to have to do some research on this real life thing.
Well, that's...
I mean, to be fair, we haven't done any of that in a long time. So
yeah.
You have an interesting point, Bruce, because that it's interesting because it's almost like a Venn diagram of all the things you normally have access to when you're online and all the things you absolutely do not. So yeah, body language, facial expression, posture, physical motion, none of those things are typically what you can communicate with. So it's really fascinating that people have chosen to only use those tools.
It is.
Craig, and I'm curious about your read. Do you think it's maybe it's a social anxiety thing where it's easier to be behind a non-speaking persona, but you can still express yourself?
Yep. I think for a lot of them, maybe even the majority, that's probably the case. I'd say another subsect is probably people that don't feel comfortable in their own skin and rather embrace one that they can choose and, get very good at kind of, embodying it and kind of living in it to the point where it's second nature to them. So, but again, this is all speculation because, I guess I could have a long text chat with one to get a better sense of more of the culture. And I guess I have to some extent. It's weird because VR chat right now is the place you can go for the closest thing to an after party or like, you know, a full on party where you get smashed and like hang out with people and feel like you're actually there. So I've done that like, you know, about 2 nights a week, I think, for like the last month or two, or at least 2 months. And it's really fascinating, the sort of stuff you learn. I've like had long, I mean, slow, but long conversations with mutes in those lobbies where they'll like be drawing out every like word. And then like we kind of like charade style keep like asking questions until we get the point right. And they're like, yes, yes, yes. And they like keep writing more. So yeah, it's a whole new like muscle for communication.
Yeah, Kodiak says to experience but not participate. Yeah, and I that is something I can't tell you how often I wish I could do in actual social scenarios, because I do get something out of, you know, being around people, but sometimes it can be it can be draining in another way to interact with people. I guess I don't know. I've been in some unique social scenarios, but
no, it definitely can. Yeah.
Yeah, I often wish that there's a switch that I could flip where other people talk. Like, just feel free to talk about whatever you want. I want to learn everything about you, but I don't want to have to like be worried about composing my, like, I just want to fade into the background while I hear other people's conversations. I want that so badly. I want to be in a one-way mirrored cube hovering over a bar where I can just have drinks and be around people. But yeah, I like to take on the listener role. Exactly.
That's exactly, I think, what the appeal is of VR chat lobby, because there's not that same pressure of like, let's say I'm having a conversation with you at a party, and then like you just have the overwhelming desire to leave because I'm boring the shit out of you, and you're like, oh man, now I gotta like make up an excuse. I gotta walk away. I've gotta like, you know, make sure he doesn't take it personally. Is he gonna know, like, you know, how I like that? There's all these kind of mental loops that you're going through. But then like in a VR lobby, it's like you can literally just like respawn, change avatars, you know, walk over here, say like disconnect and like have, you know, if you're overwhelmed, just like leave, like you can just, you know, close it whenever you want. But it's really cool because you can just kind of plant yourself at a bar and just hear all these conversations going on. Some of them you can enter, others you can just watch. You can even like get a super tiny avatar so that no one bothers you, and you just kind of like perch yourself somewhere and just mute and just watch everyone. I've done that before too. There's one I found that is a little ferret wearing a jacket that is covered with marijuana leaves, and he's got a giant blunt on his back, and he's called Weed Ferret. And I just kind of walk around, and I'm about 1.5 inches tall, and he'll just watch people talking.
I mean, you guys are just getting to what I've been saying for a long time, and Ace 102 just said, which is, I mean, that's a big appeal of the internet in general. VR chat is just the latest iteration of that. It's just being anonymous. You don't have to worry about your interactions at all because there is no consequence.
Well, I think one-upping that,
leave.
It's anonymity, but it's with your own personal persona and choice and brand that you can layer on top of that. So
of course.
like,
yeah, that's awesome.
It's anonymity, but you can pick your avatar. You can pick, you know, the lobbies you hang out in. Like there's a ton of different like small iterations and choices you can make that will further hone your sense of self, while still remaining anonymous. You know.
Yeah, no, that's the whole point. I think of all that stuff is that you can. I mean, you're basically doing whatever you want. And again, there are no consequences. So it doesn't matter if you choose a specific, you know, avatar, and then people are like, oh, that doesn't match what the avatar would do or whatever. It's like, well, this is what I would do. And then if they really don't like it, you can just leave and you'll never see them again. And it's weird because to me, that has always been, for me, in large crowds, I was always like, oh, well, I'll never see these people again. So, like, for example, if I fart or something, and then I fart in a large crowd, and then like somebody's like, oh man, like, I can't believe somebody farted, and then I'm gone. Like, they're never gonna see me again.
That guy.
How do you land on? Well, pun intended. Where do you land on farting on airplanes?
Oh, I mean, like,
because you're in a
I'm
tube
going
with people.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna fart on airplanes, but like, I try not to, of course, if I can help it.
Do you ever? Okay, so
you
there's.
Gotta sometimes.
I agree, and that's what I think a core moral quandary is. which is maybe a bit of a divergence. So I'm gonna bank that thought, and then first say that I think a lot of what you guys are talking about also crosses over into VTubers, which I think is a really cool phenomenon.
Yes. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who want to perform, but there's something scary about getting in front of the camera with your own voice and your own face and your own name, and exposing yourself to the world in that way. I think a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people. When I first got on the internet, and I've seen this happen in like role playing as well, where if you have the opportunity to present a curated persona to somebody, a lot of people kind of subconsciously try to find the best parts of themselves and put it out there. And that leads into all kinds of weird problems when people start to react negatively to that persona because it was supposed to be the perfect version of you.
Interesting.
Again, this is just my own.
Wow. I hadn't connected that.
Yeah.
That had never been my interpretation, but I'm curious to hear that. Do you have any examples, or I guess like, maybe when you've done that in the past yourself?
Yeah, I shouldn't speak generically. This is more specifically about me because when I got on the internet, it was something I noticed pretty early on. I think when I was like 18 or 19, is that if I talked to girls on the internet, it went pretty well because I was pretty clever and like could flirt okay. But if I did it in person, holy shit, completely different story. Because all of my insecurities and bad body language and tone of voice, like all those things.
BO,
and horrific BO. All those things betrayed the image that I was trying to sell, and I was much better at doing that online because I got to choose what I said and when and exactly what it sounded like. So I wonder sometimes if VTubing is a good and like explicit way for people to go onto the internet as a different persona, but then keep their own souls and their private life separate from that. I think that's probably quite a bit healthier mentally than what we've seen before, which is humans becoming influencers and then, having to figure out what part of them belongs to the world, what part of them is still just them. That divergence between how people, because if you're like an influencer and it's your face and your name, and then somebody sees the wrong thing and they jump to conclusions and they say, aha, that person is racist, then you're looking at that being like, I don't think I am. And it's different if it's that, or if somebody points to the dinosaur costume that you put on before you go on the internet and say that dinosaur is racist. And
the dinosaur made a racist comment, and you're like, and then you can, as the creator of the dinosaur, be like, hey, this was an error, as opposed to, hey, I promise I'm not a bad person. It's a different kind of defensiveness where you can actually remove yourself from the equation. I respect that. I think that's I agree that the future of content creation and curation, having that level of not being all in with not just
separation.
The separation of yourself as a character and as a person is like super important. And VTubing allows you to do that so far the easiest and the most like natural way.
What you're describing too, Lawrence, is an actor. Because basically an actor can go out and play different parts.
Yeah, you can play an evil character and not be
different people. Yeah, and then and because this is something you hear all the time. It's like there's somebody's playing a bad guy or a good guy, or whatever. They come up to them and like, "Fuck you," on the street, and they're like, "Whoa, wait a minute! Like, why are you yelling 'fuck you'?" Because you were a bad guy in a TV show that I loved. Well, they were just an actor playing a part, and so they can go, "Well, that was just me playing a part. That's not really me." And I think Lawrence is really hitting on something interesting there, which is the stuff that we do, where you put your face and your name to us just hanging out, playing video games, whatever, making content, etc. There's less of a separation than there is if you're an actor or a VTuber or whatever.
Yeah. Iceman in your chat, Lawrence, makes a really good comment. VTubers I watch, he says, VTubers I watch talk about how hard it is though, because sometimes they can't tell people who they are. Like the Hololive English girls can't reveal themselves to their friends. That's another thing that I've been thinking a lot about, because I've also been kind of dabbling in the VTuber world and like trying to learn more about it, but it is somehow sounds like it could be even lonelier than like content creation is already, if you're only exclusively known and part of the appeal is that you're known only as a character, then making lasting and trusting relationships and friends outside of that is like a big challenge. And I can't imagine what it would be like to bring someone into your personal friend group and fold, and then have them, turn out to be a bad person and like kind of flip out, and then, leak, for example, your like personal details as this character. that would be life changing for your entire role. So much more so than us who, we're already kind of in it. We're already kind of steeped in that gray blur between person and character. So I don't know. I hope there's precautions being taken and people that are looking out for that, because it sounds really tough.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I never considered that. I didn't know that protecting one's personal identity was so sacred in the VTube culture. I honestly don't know much about it. So it's interesting to get those perspectives, or maybe I'm misinterpreting. It sounded like it was like superhero level critical that people's actual names and identities don't get associated with their persona.
Yeah. I think this is the closest that this is to that example. I mean, it's not always true. Like, there are, I think, a fair amount of YouTubers that also post pictures of themselves and, are trying to live that double life. I wouldn't consider myself a VTuber, but I have done like a couple of VTube streams as a character. And it is kind of a fun counterbalance of like, playing yourself. You don't really want to break character as the character, because that takes away so much of the magic. But then ending stream, going back to you, or next stream, being someone else, it can be kind of whiplash for viewers, which I think is harder to kind of facilitate a community around, So it's a double-edged blade.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I would think that VTubers would the common knowledge, what's repeated infinitely by like industry bro dudes or whatever, is that influencers or the rise of like a guerrilla content creation. It's appealing because it's so approachable. The person sitting on the other side of the camera is a real human, and you talk to them directly, and you feel that what is it, parasocial energy or whatever. The dynamic with a VTuber surely is different, though, because there's nothing about a VTuber that implies they're a real human that you're getting actual socialization through. So,
I don't know about nothing. I think there is still elements of, the personality or the person behind the mask that will shine through, regardless of what character they're playing. And I think some viewers probably really enjoy that, like feeling like they, they're able to get to know someone without meeting them and knowing them purely through this like guise or this mask,
Someone in chat says, I've only used a VTuber model a few times, but it's for sure nicer and more comfortable than using a camera and having people comment on in real life appearances. Gives you a chance to play the game and make content without really having so much shown to the world, if that makes sense at all. You can still be yourself to an extent, but you can still hide.
Absolutely.
Makes total sense. All right.
This is what I've been saying for a long time, which is just people want to hide. They want to be anonymous. They want to not reveal all those parts of the world, because it is hard, because other humans are mean. And lots of other humans, have to take out their aggressions on other humans, and then they're mean. And honestly, I think that takes away from content creation as a whole. The more that you shit on somebody, the more that the less content they create, and then you don't know what they would have made. And so so that there's a it makes total sense that people want to be anonymous and do that, because going through life is hard enough, right? Just going to your job, or like going to get food, or having to interact with other people. And if you are super self-conscious about specific parts of you, as most of us are, then having those exposed to a much larger audience and to the internet who's anonymous, yuck. That just sounds like the worst. So I totally get it. And
it lets you prototype. You get to try a million different personas until you find the one that clicks.
Yeah, that's actually the thing that I've been most excited about in like prospects of myself personally VTubing, is that I already do so many different characters on stream in all these like roleplay scenarios, and today I feel like doing this sort of character, today I feel like doing this, and theoretically, once you've got like a process and you've invested the time and money into making all of these characters into actual playable avatars, I could just flip on a stream, this one I'm doing this character, this one I'm doing this character, and like it can be a lot more visually consistent, and like, because one of the things I think about a ton as a streamer is the visual language of a new viewer, or someone that's just kind of passing by, where they tune into your stream for 10 seconds, or it just appears on a thumbnail, and they're like, is this worth me clicking? Is this worth me watching more than, a minute of this? And they're going to wait to see some indication of what's going on to then make that judgment call. And I think about that a lot because I don't know at a glance what of my content is visually enticing enough to have someone invest that time to find out if they like it. After a while, I think they probably enjoy the humor or the characters or the voices or the games or, whatever it ends up being. But I think, how you market yourself to a new viewer at a glance without even, intentionally doing so is a huge part of streaming. And I think VTubing lends itself to that better because people will tune in and be like, why the hell is there a giant rat on the screen? And, winning that viewer beyond the first, 2 minutes is a challenge, but it is still, I don't know. I think it's more of a, it's clearer of a creative choice and a creative decision than just simply being yourself for 6 hours and hoping that someone gave you enough time a day to actually stick around for the whole time.
That's true. It's much harder to get people in if it's like just, some dude, some normal looking guy playing whatever, Warhammer or some shit, versus, like you said, big titted anime girl,
Well, I said rat, but you said big titted anime girl.
Well, yeah, because I know what Lawrence is looking for. I saw his face.
Oh, yeah.
And 99% of the internet. I'm not saying there's a huge market for a big fat rat, which is partly why it's been fun, doing it, because I feel like I'm not like pandering at all to like what expectations are. It's like, why the hell are you this big rat? But I don't know. I don't want to like. I feel like I'm talking a lot here, but
You're not.
I'm really excited by the potential for this sort of technology and the culture kind of shift around it. Personally, I really want to see more avatars and characters that are not just anime girl. I know that's asking a lot. But I don't know. There's so much potential for it. And if you look at all the fantastic 3D models that are out there, like imagine like role playing as a squid, like, and
with titties.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I'm trying to work with you here, Criken. You got to meet me halfway.
No,
though.
I understand. I appreciate you. You're
It's called compromise.
This is compromise. Fine. But like, I would love to just visit a channel and see like how this character is, representing themselves across the games they're playing. Like, what would a squid think playing, a desert-based like game? Like, is it going to be? Are they going to make like? Is that going to be a whole bit, or is it going to be just playing the game normally? Maybe I'm thinking too much about it, but I don't know. I really think that in the next few years, it's gonna. Of course, there will always be a place for big titty anime girls, but I'm hoping to see some other.
That's never going away.
Yes,
Literally
I'm
never.
well aware.
Yeah, never. Actually, after the ad read, remind me to tell you of an idea that I had, and I've already tried it once or twice, and I'm just curious to see what you guys think of it. But first, hey, Talk to the Internet is brought to you by NordVPN. That's one of the main reasons we are doing this podcast more often, is because Nord is sponsoring us. So NordVPN, if you don't know, is a VPN service that protects your internet connection and routes your internet connection through other servers throughout the country and the world, and acts as sort of a proxy to make sure you are protected. NordVPN has over 5,500 super fast servers in 60 countries. They do not log your data. You could watch a bunch of other things that are region locked. Like, for example, if you want to watch Netflix in a different region, you could use NordVPN to have your internet connection in a different country. And then you could watch European Netflix if you wanted to. 24/7 customer support, 30-day money-back guarantee. It works in China. Protects data while traveling in public. Of course, like if you're in the airport or in a coffee shop, whatever, just have NordVPN on. It's just one click. You just turn it on and it'll protect your connection. You can do up to 6 simultaneous connections. There's double data encryption for increased anonymity, like we were just talking about. And NordVPN has their own proprietary, like faster connection technology called NordLinks. Because sometimes sometimes VPNs will slow down your connection, and NordVPN's actually pretty good about not doing that. So, if you guys want to go to nordvpn.com/talk2internet, you can use our code or use the code talk2internet, all one word. You get a 2-year plan with a 70% discount. So 70% off a 2-year plan plus 1 additional month free. It ends up being about $3.56 a month to use NordVPN for 2 years. So again, go to nordvpn.com/talk2internet or use code talk2internet to get a 2-year plan, 70% off plus 1 month free. Thank you again, NordVPN, for sponsoring us. As always, they've been sponsoring this podcast for months and months and months. And we appreciate it.
Thank you, NordVPN.
Yeah.
Also, it's a great way of doing some research on some of these different anime girl avatars that we've been discussing without, let's say, alerting the rest of your household. So,
Yes,
just worth thinking
exactly. That's a really good point.
One of the testimonials on NordVPN.com comes from a Twitter account that's been suspended. Cool.
What?
So if you're playing loose on the internet, if you're out there, if you're on the dark net,
That makes sense, actually.
crunching the
NordVPN's
bits,
connected with the seedy underbelly of Twitter.
Well, it makes sense
hacker
that dude was using a VPN because he probably got himself in trouble doing something else.
This dude says, "I am hardcore" in all caps in his bio, and he vouches for NordVPN. So
Clearly he's hardcore.
if you want to be as hardcore as this guy, he's even got a pinned tweet from Architect at the top of his nothing but class on this gentleman on the internet. So be like that
I
guy.
am hardcore.
Remember, that does not reflect on NordVPN. These are just people that think they're cool hackers.
Well, yeah, I'd like to think we all think we're cool hackers.
I mean, you more than most,
Yeah, I
Lawrence.
guess that's true.
You more than most.
Thank you, NordVPN, for protecting us on the internet.
As always.
I'm going to get into those CDVR chat rooms. You don't want people sniffing your data. They're going to be sniffing plenty of other things. I need to get more into VR chat. It is the intersection of sociology and technology. And I just love what happens to the human experience when you start just messing with the chemistry a little bit. Like social scenarios where you get to choose what senses are, like you get to choose your physical appearance. You get to choose what other people see and hear from you.
Yep.
Cool stuff. And
It's also got a really, depends on where you hang out, of course, but because there's communities for everything. But I've met a lot of super talented and creative people there. And, I don't think that would have been possible on any other site or context, but being able to literally wear your work as a skin and then show off like a unique or distinct feature that you've added to it is super cool. So, yeah, I recommend it.
couple of good inputs from chat here. Adam Frostburn says, I've realized since getting into VTubers, the amount of female streamers I'm watching has increased dramatically. So many of the ones I follow seem incredibly three-dimensional, wonderful, and hardworking. But I've noticed that I basically watch zero standard female streamers. Do you think it's purely the anime/Japanese styles that are making me enjoy VTubers more, or could there be something else? I'm trying to wrap my head around my own feelings on this. This is a big presumption for me, Adam. I would say what you're seeing is those people being able to perform without worry or hesitation. Because like somebody else said in chat earlier, who I presume 99% is female. If you're a girl on the internet, you have to have shields up like all the time because people are going to say shit and you have to deal with it. And if you don't deal with it, then other people are going to say things. Like I've seen the dynamic where it only takes one asshole in chat to talk about boobs, and usually me, and then everyone starts talking about boobs. And then like if you're just there and you just want to play fucking Stardew Valley and everyone's talking about your tits, then it's really annoying, and that changes the temperature of everything. But if you come on with like a persona, then I feel like that not only messages to the audience that it's more about the performance and the character, but if there's one person who is all about tits, then even under the persona, I think it's a lot easier to deal with that or to direct the conversation, as opposed to it like it's the character dealing with it and not you as an insecure person singling one person out in chat, and then the other chat turns on you, and the temperature gets weird. And I think operating this, I'm speaking as a dude who usually doesn't have to worry about these things, But my read would be that female performers, if they put on a persona, feel like they're actually allowed to do their jobs, which is perform and entertain, as opposed to, spending 40% of their mental energies trying to like make sure that creepers don't show up and make the thing weird. I don't know. Is the creeper problem a factor with VTubers, or I guess I haven't seen an audience dynamic under a female VTuber.
That's a really good question and a good kind of comment to bring that up. Again, I'm not an expert on it by any means, but I liked your read that it allows entertainers like women to be a lot less concerned about their appearance and personally attacked or microanalyzed. If you have just kind of a like perfect skinned little like idea of yourself that you can export as your product in this anime character that already solves all of that, and you can focus on entertainment, and it also lets you have you can explore things like being more like lewd or fucking shoving your booba on page a lot more without it being a you thing. It's like it's a character thing, and therefore it's less objectifying. I think I've seen that with a lot of YouTubers that I've seen is like they're more comfortable being lewd with their characters because it is all make pretend in a character, and it's not them leading someone on or just giving the perception of that they're leading someone on. I think that's a big fear for a lot of women streamers, is that like you kind of develop these we're not going to use the S word anymore, but basically this little like patrol of hardcore fans that are diehard in love with you in one way or another, and separating that from your actual person is kind of it can be tough. It can be really scary sometimes. But when they're an anime girl, like, oh, it's okay to obsess over this anime girl because it's not real, and like we all know that. But like you can pretend.
Let me go even further on this and even speculate more about Adam, the commenter. And by the way, Adam, this is not a reflection on you personally or anything. All the stuff we're saying, this is just us sort of guessing as to what your comment was about. But even to go back to your comment, it was to paraphrase, he doesn't watch normal actual human female streamers, but instead watch VTubers that female actual females play. Maybe your perception of a female streamer is different because you're seeing them as a female that you're attracted to, or maybe they're a female that you're like, oh, like I wonder if like we could meet in real life or whatever. And like I know that this is a very stereotypical response. Like everyone's always like, oh well, going back to Criken's S word, everybody's doing that for female streamers because maybe one day they'll date me or whatever. Try and remove yourself from that perspective too, Adam. And again, this may not be for you, Adam. You may not think like this at all, but some other people may do. And instead, just think of them as a person, as an entertainer, and then treat them as such. Treat them as you would normally treat an entertainer if you were to see them in real life. Be nice to them, and instead of thinking of them as like somebody I'm attracted to, or like somebody maybe I have a chance with, or whatever. I actually don't think. I think our audience, specifically us three, all three of our audiences are more intelligent than most, and generally don't feel that way. But it's just something to think about.
I do think that, I think that there's certainly a point to be made, and I've seen people dance around the concept. The concern that, VTubing right now is dominated by what largely, and through the lens of anime, have been very packaged female concepts of human beings. They're not people, they're just collections of behavior types. Your tsunderes, your yanderes, what have you. So I do think that there may be something about presenting yourself as a packaged character that makes you easier to approach or easier to think about in an entertainment standpoint. So I'm, again, white dude, not going to say that they're the same, but what I, there's always a but. What I noticed is, Bruce, when we started, I was
thinking that too.
Yeah, no one ever makes a disclosure and just leaves it there. But I'm going to do it anyway. Yeah. White guy, I'm not supposed to keep it in. Come on now. It's my power to say whatever's on my mind and suffer no consequences. It was interesting to me when we started Funhouse how quickly the audience snapped us into pretty digestible roles. You know? The funny one. I was the like angry nerd, and I was like, I'm actually quite a bit more than that. And when we do our podcast, that persona is not there at all. But, you know, the people that watch the gameplay videos probably don't watch the podcast, whatever. But they don't have any interest in knowing me more than that, nor should they. As far as their life goes, I'm like I'm 30 seconds of shouting in the background. So that's who I am to them. That's fine. That's what entertainment is. It's people, you know, taking a performance or a persona and boiling it down into something digestible in their heads. So I think that might be the case too. There's a lot of...
It's so much easier to put a character in a box when they can, like, there's no variation, you know, like it's like maybe their visual model and like textures and, you know, clothes may change as it's updated or whatever, but like it is this never aging perfect bubble of a character that a streamer can play, and it will never, it's consistency, which I think, you know, viewers strive for, yearn.
Well, they yearn for reliability and consistency and like a schedule, and they want to come and see the same thing over and over and over, because it makes them feel good. And that, by the way, that's not a bad thing. I think that's how we all feel when it comes to entertainment that we watch. We all would like to watch something that is familiar yet different. The interesting thing about, I think, Twitch streaming and VTubing and all the stuff that we're talking about right now is this is a much longer form content. So it requires us, this is going to sound super weird, but it requires us to expend more energy into the entertainment we're consuming, because we have to actually use our brains a little more when we're watching somebody, you know, live their life on a stream or play 5 hours of a video game, or like they express their frustrations or they express their happiness or their sadness or whatever while they're playing. Then that makes them a real human being. Whereas if they were watching Lawrence, he was the angry nerd for 30 seconds in a 10-minute Funhouse video. So it's weird, because I know people think Twitch streams are like, oh, you throw them on the background and just watch, you know, whatever. They're kind of nothing. It's very strange. It's actually the opposite. I think it's the opposite. And the more that I watch streams, the more I realize, oh, yeah, this is actually asking more of me as a human being if I am to continue to be, you know, a productive member of society. Yeah, that's just the way I've seen it so far.
Yeah, I think I agree. I follow a number of female streamers because they play some pretty core nerdy shit that I'm into. But I have noticed most of them are off camera and most of them don't talk much. And I think I do, for me at least, speaking only from my personal experience, when I go to a stream and somebody's like, hey, I'm playing a game that I really like, I'm having a good time with it, I may be knowledgeable about it, but I just want to share my enjoyment of this game with the audience. That's the stream chemistry that speaks to me. And that's usually what I have on in the background. But I've noticed that energy is not quite there with some of the female streamers that I watch, the ones that, you know, aren't behind personas or on camera or anything. And I think it's because the audience flavor doesn't really allow for that kind of free and open entertainment, because there's always going to be somebody that wanders in and makes it a little bit hostile or comments on appearance and stuff. And then it's just the stress. I guess to boil it all down, what I've felt from some female streamers that I watch is defensiveness, which is not their fault, but I don't think defensiveness lends into a stream that, you know, sucks you in and makes you feel that warmth and that energy. And I can kind of understand why a poor lady on this internet might feel defensive if they're exposing themselves that way. Yeah, I'm presuming a lot there, so that's just all in my headspace, you know, typical like projecting my own thoughts out into the world kind of thing. But that's the vibe that I've gotten.
Only natural. It's in our nature as white men. We're just doing what we do best. Okay, no reason to get mad.
Yeah, one thing that I'm interested in is one thing I've noticed is. Somebody mentioned energy streamers, that wear thin. I've definitely noticed in the past year that like my tendency is to just share gaming with people, And for me, that's like 8 hours of bashing away at an obscure game that no one knows about. Over the course of 8 hours, I'm not going to be that high energy. But that's just the kind of like that's the groove that I've been lucky enough to be able to settle into. But it seems like the better play on Twitch is to have shorter scheduled shows that are higher energy, so that you have higher average viewers, so that you can then like it just makes your channel look better. Like no one cares about uptime; people only care about average viewers. So it seems like Twitch is kind of market forces are pushing Twitch towards a more produced structure with more definite hours, and not just kind of like
Interesting.
loosey-goosey online freewheeling fun times. It does seem like
I to some degree, but I also think that majority of the top streamers on the site are the latter. They just kind of hang out and talk with chat and like
they stream for 12 hours a day.
Do they?
Yeah, it's the energy and
Yes, they do.
persistence of them just being around is what
I'll
bring
tell-
people back.
I'll tell you why, Lawrence. It's not because I think what you're saying is actually true. I think the more produced stuff is coming to Twitch more often now. But I'm the only reason I'm gonna tell you why it's not because of like what your perception is wrong. It's because of Twitch, and it's the same thing with YouTube. So the more videos you put up on YouTube, generally the better you're gonna do, and the more you stream on Twitch, generally the better you're gonna do. And it's because they want people on their platforms. They're prioritizing people who are there more and creating more content for those platforms. So
the artistic zombie actually made another great comment. She said, to be honest, as a female streamer, I tend to get really defensive when I do have to talk to show myself on screen. I try to tone myself down on games I really enjoy and know lore shit in hopes of not getting one of those viewers who unleash hell, for lack of better words. That's totally relatable. I think we deal with that as well as male streamers. I'm sure it's probably much worse. The whole like mansplaining concept for female streamers. I don't know. Is there a way that you guys deal with that? Do you feel like you're ever limiting your geeking out, I guess, about something, or do you just kind of like how do you deal with having someone that knows best and is eager to tell you, you know? And what would you recommend to someone else that's looking to start streaming in that position?
Man, all great questions. Man, we should have. If we knew we were going to go here, it would have been awesome to try and get some people who do stream in that space to talk about their experiences. But luckily, we've got text, so that's nice. There's a new Blasphemous expansion. Sorry, I was just scrolling Reddit.
I wanted to hear Lawrence's answer to Criken's question, because I'm curious to see how.
I was trying to dodge my question, Bruce. It's okay.
I want to hear Lawrence's.
Oh, you
answer,
mean just
though.
when it comes to like,
How do you deal with it?
um,
Like, do you tone back your passion? I feel like you don't, but
I'm allowed to have passion, so it's not something I have to deal with much. It's celebrated for me to be nerdy about something, but yeah,
it's part of your brand and like your personality.
yeah.
In both categories, I think so.
So for me, it's mostly just an aspect of like the only mental management I have to do is I guess back in the our final machinima days and then early at Funhouse. I've never been very good at restraining myself. Maybe an understatement, but it's just it's not a skill I possess. I've worked on it, and to some degree maybe went a little too far in that direction of using negative feedback on the internet to sort of curate my persona. But that was a work goal. I was trying to make myself less. I was trying to make the reaction to me less negative, so that our content wouldn't suffer because of it. And I think through that, I've imposed a lot of like self-restraints that I'm now trying to remove. Mostly because for a long time, I just didn't like. For a long time, my logic was in the headspace of like, well, if there's something I want to say, and it's only for me, like it's only for me to gas out, and it's gonna make somebody else annoyed, then why would I even say it? For a while, I tried to operate under those rules. Now I'm kind of slipping back into I have a pretty good sense of what I know is what's right and what's fair. And if I say something or express myself and somebody else has a problem with that, then they're the asshole, and that's not my problem.
Yeah.
Basically giving myself permission for other people to be assholes. But that's like the extent that I ever have to deal with it, is just telling myself to not care what people think. Throwing back to Artistic Zombie, let's see here. Okay. Just trying to make sure I didn't miss anything. I was going to add that my stream and my community have been a blessing because you can really nerd out, and he does it in exchange. Yeah, I mean, I'm allowed to do that though, so it's it's I often appreciate the fact that I don't have to be interrogated every time I express nerdy stuff. But I don't think that is going to net a lot of people. It'll net certain kinds of people. But Criken, to your point, if you come into my stream or somebody else's stream, and we're sitting there dropping bricks of lore about a video game that came out 15 years ago, or reading a Splatoon wiki, who would ever do that? I think that that's going to appeal to certain people. Those are my people. So to some degree, the bait you put out there is the fish you catch. That's a weird analogy. So what I think the problem is, because I'm kind of above the self-sufficiency line, which I'm very, very grateful for. But when somebody's trying to make it, when trying to build an audience, and you don't have connections or a reputation you've already built on another platform, if you don't have any of that stuff, then you gotta compromise more. Kind of like Criken putting big old titties on that squid. And
do it.
That's I think where it can get weird, because I think in that dynamic, ladies have a lot that they can compromise with because dudes are horny all the time. So it's like, what a shitty game to play. And I think that's where VTubing kind of becomes the saving grace, is you can put yourself out there. I think Casey Tron a long time ago was pretty brilliant about making it parody that she was like a ditzy e-girl, which I think lent into the persona quite a bit. She's dropped that gimmick since, which is also very, very smart. But I think it allows people to find that audience appeal without having to be disingenuous to themselves, which is awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
How about you, Bruce?
For me, I have noticed that. So we used to have to take this YouTube self-certification course every year for people that were like programming YouTube channels that were partnered. And the first question, and always the first lesson that you learned in that YouTube thing, was, what's the most important part of a YouTube channel? And the first one was always passion. And what they mean is be genuine and be passionate about what you talk about. And the same goes for Twitch streams or any other content that you're making. Just be passionate about it. And always, I'm not going to play a game if I'm not at least somewhat interested in it. And looking to sort of find a passion for it, if that makes sense, for new stuff. And for me, like Lawrence was saying, like, I'm more of a person who's like, I am looking to make content that people want to watch. So like, if the audience grows, great. However, I will also be passionate about what I'm doing, and I'm not going to play something that isn't something that I don't want to play. Because I have always kind of been that person. I like to flit about between a bunch of different things and see like, well, why is this popular? Well, why is this popular? And then go check it out to see if it's something that I like or do not like. And I had a really good example of what we're talking about happen to me last night. I was playing.
You were playing Total War, weren't you?
Yeah, and I was really
about that.
I was super excited about it. I was like, I've heard good things. Criken was telling me about it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I played like 2.5 hours of it, and honestly really enjoyed it. There was one specific battle toward the end that was turned out to be pretty difficult, and I knew I wouldn't win. And as soon as I was losing, 3 or 4 different people in the chat were just like, you didn't do this right. You didn't do this right. You didn't do this right. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, I've played 2 hours of this game. A bunch of the people in chat had admitted they'd played 1,200 hours, 1,400 hours.
Yeah.
And they're like, you shouldn't have done this, and you should have done this. And I was like, okay. So there's a really interesting thing about these sorts of things. So if you're going to backseat people or whatever, just be polite. That's it. Mm-hmm. Just be like, oh, hey man, like, it's, next time if you're going to get in this situation, you might want to be a little more verbose about it, versus streamer do thing wrong.
Yep. Real quick to interject in that. I think this actually connects to what Lawrence just talked about, in that, the number one thing when curating a community is like passion. And I think, what you got there is examples of people that are super passionate and excited.
They're so passionate. Yeah.
That you're playing their game. Like, this is the game that they know everything about, and they're finally getting to see their favorite streamer play their game. and then
But
you know,
guess what
as
they did,
soon
though?
as they recognize you
gatekeeped
did something
me.
wrong,
They gatekeeped me.
oh,
they
they
turned
did?
me off
Okay.
of it.
Well,
Yeah.
was it just telling you what you should do better, or was it to go beyond that?
No, well, it was, again, it wasn't what I should do better. It was what I did wrong.
Right, right.
So there's a difference. There's a difference there.
I think they gatekept you for sure. It just they didn't realize it in the moment. In their mind,
That's correct. Yeah.
it was, oh, you know, I know this classic, you know, trapping that he just experienced because when I first played, I went through this. Let me tell him so he can overcome it, along with the 5 other people that did just that and did not word it well because they're not used to, you know, having to be that delicate with their comments, and so it just turns into a shitpost, and then you're like, well, now I don't want to play anymore because I'm just gonna feel awful about myself. Or you have to like do hours of research in a game before streaming it, and that's not really time efficient for folks like us at all. And you miss out on the magic of learning the game and that experience, which some people really enjoy. So
that's what I was trying to say, is that I had a great fucking time learning about the game and learning about the lore and seeing what would play out. And you're totally right, Criken. They're super passionate about the video game. They wanted me to love it, but what their reaction is 100% doing the opposite of what they want. And it's I don't know how to like communicate that other than say it to them. Like, it's okay. The thing that I always say is, if I ask you, absolutely answer me. If I ask you, answer me, tell me. But if I'm fucking up on my own or whatever, and like, don't come in here and be, you should do this, you should do that. The should doesn't help me. It's all about what the questions that I'm having. And then if you're like, oh yeah, I can answer that question, and then you answer the question, then great.
I've seen that. You guys are correct, and I'm glad you identified it as passion, because it is an expression of passion. It's just the valve is opening in the wrong spot. Because I used to be that guy. You know, I just sit around with nothing to say to anybody. But the second somebody brought up video games, my mind would explode. Like, finally, it's my time. I can demonstrate value in this conversation. To use I guess it actually ends up being a pretty pickup artisty term. But anyway, it was my moment, right? This is what I've been waiting for. Suddenly, everyone will realize that I have a reason to be here. And that's when it'd be like, oh, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you find that? And you know, I've seen that happen in other situations. I remember specifically, going to keep it generic because I don't want to call anyone out, but like, I was having a conversation with somebody and a certain topic came up, and it was a topic that somebody else was very, very excited about. And I could see it out of the corner of my eyes. That person got up, walked through an entire room, and came out to us just because they had heard the like phrase.
They heard the one word. Oh boy.
Yeah, and then it was like, what are you guys talking about?
Here we go.
Like, well, we were just wrapping up, but yeah, it's.
Oh god.
You know, people do it, and it's not an action that comes from a place of malice most of the time. I do think that there is that. I think that, Dr. 11 had mentioned it, is that there are people who are used to larger streams just being a cacophony of whatever. So you know, you scream at your TV when you're watching the football game. Oh, you bonehead coach! You should have thrown a pair. Like,
Right.
It's just getting that part of that's getting the gas out a little bit. But I think it's a mixture of those two things. One, people just venting negativity because they think it's a good place to do so, and they think that oil doesn't go anywhere. And then two, people that are super passionate and have kept their 1,500 hours of Total War all packed into their brains, and it's just been bashing around. And when they go to work, they don't talk to anyone about Total War. But that's the beauty of Twitch, is that it's pretty easy to find communities specifically dedicated to the thing you love. So you get in there, and then suddenly those 1,500 hours of Total War spray out of your fingers because you think this is the time you have to show the
chance.
You can show the person that theoretically you care about.
Here's a little trick for you, Bruce, if you want to try this again. If you end up playing those sort of games again. I also was playing a Warhammer game last night. I played Necromunda, which is a Warhammer 40k game, and I know next to nothing about Warhammer 40k. I know Warhammer Fantasy because I'm a big fan of the Total War games, and I kind of, after I started playing them, I learned it. But instead of like broadcasting my ignorance as a cry for help that people will come and here, let me teach you, poor streamer. We just kind of have like lore topics and debates in chat all the time where I just kind of pose a question and let them fight over it. Like just throw them a fucking thing of meat and just see them tear at each other. So you're redirecting their, expertise and just let them like focus on each other and while you're just playing the game. And it causes, the downside of that is there's less chat interaction around what you're specifically doing, but they see more scene as a result, and you also can learn a bit without it being a direct attack in some way, So.
Oh yeah, no. By the way, I don't see it as a direct attack at all. This is just I know what it is, but my Action Hack just said something in Lawrence's chat, which is wanting your audience to behave in a specific way seems like a never-ending battle. It's sure, but what I'm trying to just be out there doing is say, hey, pretend I'm sitting next to you. That's it. Pretend I'm sitting next to you, and then read out loud what you just wrote. How would that sound to your friend if you were just shouting at your friend, or actually not even your friend, somebody who you really haven't met, somebody who really you haven't talked to before, and then all of a sudden you're like, do this, do that, do this. There's a just sort of try to add another layer of politeness to it. Is usually the way I hope that people will conduct themselves, because again, we're all humans. As far as I know, I don't know how many bots I have in chat.
Yeah, good point. Another thing we did would be, I would like, if it's a single player game, sorry, video. Is that Skate 3?
It's Session, I think.
Session, never heard of that.
Yeah.
But the, what was I about to say? I would put up lore videos. If I'm playing a game and it's single player and I'm like still learning the game, we just like in the background, I'd like look up on YouTube, like a explanation of a facet of the game and just let it ride. And then, we're learning, everyone collectively, we're learning about either the world or the game, depending on who's kind of focusing on what. And it also lets chat like hyperfixate, as they love to do, on a specific thing without it being me for once. And it's like I just dropped them off at daycare and I'm like, all right, go talk about your lore stuff.
Like you're distracting them. You're like, this is what I was doing with my puppy, which is I throw a treat into the kitchen to make sure she runs in there.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly it.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
I really do feel that comment though of like, I remember asking this a while ago. Damn. I remember asking this a while ago about like, what parts of this job do you guys consider the work? And I think it would be unfair if we got to go on the internet and play video games with our friends and somehow made money for doing that. I mean, it's awfully close to that for some reason, but I do think that, you wouldn't be on Twitch if you weren't public somehow. And kind of going back to that, people are allowed to be assholes thing. It's done wonders for my mental health to really embrace that. And that sounds like a shitty thing to embrace, but there's no way around it, man. People are allowed to be assholes. That's just the world.
It's like instead of fighting the current, you can just acknowledge that it's taking you downstream and not like exhaust yourself.
Yeah. So I really like your approach, Criken, of like, let's misdirect. Let's introduce something else positive. Which Bruce, I don't mean to interpret like that I wholly disapprove of trying to guide behavior in another place. But
no, for me, this is just teaching people a different way to do it.
Yeah, it's just different approaches.
That's all. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, gentle diversion is, I think, the phrase. Yeah, it used to kind of get under my skin a little bit, but I think what I've grown to appreciate is that essentially, I guess this is the way I think about myself. I don't want to generalize, but I'm basically just like playing a guitar in a subway station, except it's a video game and it's on the internet. But I think part of that is, you're going to get the drunk guy who comes along and be like, you don't know how to play, your guitar's out of tune. And it's just going to be screaming. And that guy can do that. That's just the world. And it's not my job to fix that guy. But I can try. I can be like, hey, brother, why don't you just chill? Hey, what song do you want me to play? And I'll play it. Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly, Lawrence.
I do think
exactly
that,
right.
Yeah, I do think that people being people in Twitch chat, it's always going to be a factor.
Oh, sure. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and to some degree, I've learned to kind of embrace it a little bit. It's just part of the texture. The thing is, though, it's like, I think in a busking situation, also applicable. The thing that I find really fascinating is the one person who's like the inciter, one way or another. They have incredible power because, to kind of throw it back to another topic, it is totally on the skills of the host to handle that situation appropriately and keep the vibe right. And
Yeah.
that's when I think, kind of going back to the VTuber analysis, that it makes it actually quite a bit easier to guide that way. I guess it's because it is a little less like you're screaming directly at a living human and more like you're ruining a nice show. You know?
Yeah.
You go to a maid cafe and you're like, yo, you're a real maid? Tell me about all your dresses. And then suddenly you're the jerk. But if somebody's playing, you know, if you roll up on somebody playing Lego and you start screaming at them somehow, that seems like there's less barriers there.
More
I don't
okay
know.
than the maid cafe.
It's
I know,
very
you're
strange.
right, though. You're right. I think it's a really
Lawrence,
good analogy.
Your analogy is great, except for the fact that the person yelling at the busker isn't anonymous. It's like there are 10, 20, 30 other people on the street that are all pointed. They could be like, yo, I think I know that dude who's drunk. And then they see them the next day at work and be like, what the fuck was your problem?
Yeah.
You know, like, whereas here, that doesn't really exist. They could just make a username and disappear. So,
Yeah.
And that's part of the fun from the viewer perspective, I think.
Absolutely it is.
As much as the streamer can wear different personas, so can a Twitch user.
Yeah, I think, you know, to the point that Bruce was bringing up earlier about like trying to coach the audience in a direction so that you can better kind of manage reactions and stuff. I think that also goes to, you know, definitely factors into when bad eggs come in, you know, how the viewers and the community in general respond to that. You know, is it like a full on like, you know, vigilante group that like rises up and shoves them back into anonymity and, you know, sends them out of the channel? Or, you know, do some of is it like on the cusp of toxicity where they can make a comment and then a couple of lurkers come out and also echo that, and then suddenly, you know, it's kind of getting out of hand. Like, it's a really interesting dynamic that streamers have to go through in you know, chat and communities in terms of how to find that common ground where everyone's like comfortable. I don't know. I don't think there's really any way to specifically do it. This kind of
no. It's just all sorts of different ways.
Yeah.
It's great to hear all of our different ways, because I think that reflects all our personalities, sort of the way, you know, we all deal with it. But also there's all sorts of things to learn from this on the audience side, the people that are watching. I still advocate for the fact that, like, just imagine that you're here like right in front of me talking to me. Just imagine that. And then I think it'll like just add a few more little words. Like, it'll add a few more like, hey, please, or thank you, or you should try, or maybe do this thing, or sort of there's a little more politeness to it versus commands that you're shouting at somebody. I think that will temper your responses if you just imagine that you're there in person, or hell, even on the phone. If you're just talking to somebody, you know, just person to person. So
somebody brings up an interesting point. Shallon says that text is tough, and I've seen this on Twitter.
Very tough.
It's really easy to assume tone, and I think some messages are like curt, and you can, I think, properly assume a particular tone there. But I think what gets scary is, you know, if you have people English as a second language or something like that, they may write out you know, they may not put in all those nice little words that imply tone. It may just be like, oh, you missed a key. And in that moment, maybe I have a moment of self-doubt, and I read that and I'm like, oh man, everyone in chat thinks I'm a shit gamer and this guy's making fun of me, you know. Well, I'll show him. Hey, you can't tell. Hey, if I want to miss a key, maybe I wanted to miss the key. Maybe I'm playing how I want to play it. Sometimes it's such an amazing chemistry, and there's no place where it's right or wrong, but it is, you know, we're all smashing our brains together and this weird thing. So I think, related to what I was saying before, I've sometimes erred a little too much on the side of making excuses for other people or trying to believe the best in other people or something like that. But I've certainly been on the other side of, especially on Twitter, my God, I'll just write out something that I think is just a fun joke, or just like that's our Lawrence. And man, people will come in and take it an entirely different way. So, and that's one of those, like, well, I can't help you if you want to be mad about it. So yeah, I think it's part of me also remembers in the back of my head that the tone that I read things with may not be the tone that they were written in, but you know, it's easy then to think like, well, somebody should have written it better. But it's, you know,
I usually say ask questions. That's usually my answer to that, because I've seen people be like, oh, well, don't assume tone. I'm like, all right, well, then I just start asking questions. I'm like, well, okay, so what did you mean by this? And then if they come back to me, oh, I meant this. I'm like, great, perfect. We figured it out. Awesome. Because it also gives that person a chance to dial back. If, for example, they wrote a mean response, and if you're asking the question, what did you mean by this? If they decide to come back and be like, you know what? Never mind. I'm not going to double down on this. And instead, I will say, nothing. It was a joke, which is my favorite troll response, by the way.
Joke. Yeah.
It was a joke. I think I've seen that hundreds of times on the internet. As soon as I call it out, they go,
Get out of jail free card.
Prank
it
bro.
was a joke. It was a joke. Yeah, prank. Sure it was. Then, okay, well then, hey, you know what? It's diffused. We're good.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. Oh, I just got a read from John. Hello, John.
Hello, John.
John Smith.
Yeah, it's weird dynamics. I've been experimenting with being a little more. I got nailed by the post video card. I've been experimenting with being a little more open, trusting myself on this internet of ours. I think it's a good thing.
How's that going
Certainly
for
more
you?
sustainable. And also, if I piss people off, who cares? It's not my problem. You interpreted the wrong tone. That's on you.
Guys, I think we made it to the end of the podcast.
I think we did.
Oh, hell yeah.
We did it. Criken, thanks for sticking around. I know you're busy, so
Yeah. Well, not every day I get to talk with my buds. So
it's not.
it's
Really not. One of these days we'll get to hang out and be in a room again like we used to. Remember when we used to do that?
I remember. Seems like yesterday.
No, it was more than a year ago. That's how
Someday.
it feels to me.
What are you guys doing tonight? There's actually a group thing that I'm getting thrown together. I'm not sure if you guys are busy, but you're welcome to join if you'd like to.
Oh, shit, Lawrence, you should tell them what we're doing.
We don't have to be. Bruce and I are going to play Resident Evil 6 together.
Oh, a co-op?
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I played it last
Yeah.
week, and everyone in chat was like, why aren't you playing this with another human? Because, yeah, playing Resident Evil 6 by yourself
Yeah, no, co-op
It's
is the way to play Resident Evil.
the
for
most
sure.
depressing thing, even though I had the time of my life. So, yeah, Bruce, you better get ready. It's a hell of a
so
ride.
ready.
Does anyone know, and I'm asking the questions so you can say, and I won't yell at you for backseating, is the prologue of RE6 co-op, or do you have to play through that on your own? With like all the tutorials and your Leon and the helicopter.
Usually it's all co-op. I'm trying to... Resident Evil 5, I think I remember playing it together.
Okay. Obviously it is. Okay, good. I didn't think it was because there's a lot of tutorializing and like stopping the game to give you tutorialization messages. And usually you can't do that if it's co-op. Prologue is single player. I thought so. That's fine. I can just be on the phone with Bruce while he plays through the co-op.
I don't know if you guys have done Resident Evil 5 co-op, but that is, I think, still to this day, one of the best co-op experiences you can have.
Really?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, wow.
It's just so goofy. It's like so over the top, while still maintaining a serious plot line. So I recommend it.
I guess 6 isn't quite as serious, but boy, is there more plot. Ooh, there's a lot of plot.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Lawrence is just going to be our lore explainer. Criken, what are you doing tonight?
You guys remember Inferno Plus, the person that we did the Halo Kart with? He has made a Dark Souls mod that's a PvP mod that mods it into Halo maps and adds a ton of other functionality. So you can basically play Dark Souls, Halo, PvP. It's fantastic. So I think
awesome.
Tonight's the night that we're going to be doing that. So if you guys would like to drop by, you're certainly welcome. Obviously, if Resident Evil's on the docket, that's also fucking primo. So I'm sure you'll enjoy that either way.
Well, either way, thank you for the invite.
Yeah.
I feel like if we'd known about it earlier, we probably would have done that. But either way, whatever. What else?
Yeah, we had to delay it a few times, so sorry about that.
I got you. No big deal.
That sounds so good.
It does. It sounds great. Well, thank you very much for watching. As always, thanks for sitting through our ad read for NordVPN. Like I said, I really truthfully mean it. We're doing the podcast because NordVPN is sponsoring us. So just keep that in mind if you ever want to, if you ever do use that deal, it really actually does help us and makes us want to do the podcast more because it supports us.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yep. Shout out to all our Texas friends. Hopefully.
Oh man, I hope they're okay.
Yeah, I've
Jeez.
been checking in with my parents. They just lost power today, but luckily they have a
no.
stove. Yeah, because my dad is an old soul, and this might be the first time that's actually paid dividends. So, yeah. Oh, you're in Houston? Pickle. My heart's with you. I would
Man.
wish I could do more than think about it. Thoughts and prayers, I guess. But
Thoughts and prayers.
yeah, that's good enough, right? It's not. Anyway, yeah, thank you all very much. I have to use the bathroom terribly.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
But Criken, Bruce, thank you for talking. And we'll see you sometime in
Thank you
the
for listening.
indiscriminate future. Talk to the Internet podcast.
Bye guys.
Okie doke.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.